What up, nerds? Guess what? We're still playing Neverwinter Nights. Always. I'm gonna die with this game. Constantly playing it. We're doing a DM event though in a persistent world server that I DM. This video is actually like part 2 and 3 of this like campaign that I was doing. I didn't record part 1 because that was the day after I got my COVID shot, and I just like felt so terrible. So like I just completely forgot about recording. I'm just like I just wanted to get this over with. I didn't even want to do the event, but so the basic premise of this campaign was for these adventurers to try to uncover this ancient hidden kingdom of gnomes that are buried beneath the mountains that are east of Thay, which is where this server takes place in. Gnomes are typically associated with like wizards and magic and illusion specifically. So like this hidden kingdom was sort of like canvassed with illusionary spells that no one can ever find except, the people who kind of lived and grew up there. It's all like rumors. No one's ever seen it before. Only tales. And so these group of adventurers that were hired by one of the Red Wizards is tasked with finding this place. So we started in the Sunrise Mountains, and they're kind of just going down, exploring. I had to make these all maps like custom made. Like these aren't part of the server. I kind of went on the tool set, just kind of threw together a map. Put some of these creatures in here. These are cave trolls. They kind of remind me of in Lord of the Rings in the Mines of Moria. You know when they had that cave, they're fighting that cave troll in there. That was like, I kind of want to make this. I kind of want to make the scene in this game. So I made a couple cave trolls for them to come across, and they're not too difficult. I have these little like secret areas too, where you gotta make like skill checks. That little like rock that you see there, you can make like checks to see if you can get in to like a little hole. What did I label it? Shoulder width hole in the wall or something like that. So like on our server, you can have these like placeables, and it automatically does checks for you to see if you can crawl through a certain spot or jump to a certain spot or swim to a certain spot, depending on how much dexterity or strength or whatever the check is supposed to take. So I have these little like secret holes in this mountain because this mountain is so vast and so ancient. I like that there's like little, I would assume like there's like these little passages that like no one has ever seen before that are too small to crawl through or whatever. So I kind of have them all over the place here, where if players want to try to go through it, they can get like little rewards for exploration. Put like little items here and there. Some of them have like just common rats. Others have like these spiders that I have here. One of the players that crawled through, I think, was in stealth mode, so that's why they weren't attacking. So if she wasn't in stealth mode, they probably would have like a little combat here, but lucky for them, didn't have to go through that. Had a lot of spider encounters here. I mean, underneath a mountain, I think spiders in caverns is pretty self-explanatory, so I put a couple webs in there. Our server also includes sometimes you might get ensnared by the webs, or maybe even your weapons get caught in the webs if you're attacking it. Got a custom spider spawn in there, a black spawn stalker, which is like a mix between a spider and a black dragon, I think. A lot of these DM events, I like putting in creatures. Well, I guess it depends on the situation too, but because they're kind of, these players were sort of putting themselves in this uncharted territory, going under the mountain that like rarely any player has been to before. I wanted to put in creatures that you wouldn't normally find on the server, so I sort of like custom made these creatures that they're attacking. Then we get to a point where one of these players is talking an animal, so like we have like a language system, so you can speak a whole bunch of different languages. You can learn and speak different languages, and one of our druid players is talking to this rat that I'm controlling right now, just kind of asking information. Whoa, there's a big ass bug that just flew into my room. Woo! Alright, my life just flashed before my eyes. The bug is in between my window and the the window screen or whatever. So we're good now. What are we talking about again? Oh, character was talking to this rat speaking in animal. So I'm kind of just showing them this like little another hidden alcove or whatever you want to call it. It's kind of like a little safe house for these for this group, and this is sort of like a camping spot for them where they can set up a tent. You can set up a campfire, and they can refill their canteens in this little water source here. And I put in a couple of supplies like potions and such in the bag in that corner there, and where that corpse is. Just a little bit of rewards for exploring. So these guys are just resting up right now. Moving on to another part of the map. I made like 5 or 6 different maps for this campaign. I think only made one for the first part, and then like the second and third part I made about 3 or 4. So this is like the second custom map that I made. I wanted to do it for this campaign because for the most part, when you're like DMing like a digital game like this, like you're really only using the ones that are part of your server, and you kind of just like recycle those same maps over and over again. Then you can rename it and add little bits and pieces, but the layout's always going to be the same. So I felt like it was necessary to kind of create new maps for this, just so they're exploring the mountains that have never been explored before. I didn't want people to know the layout, even though their characters should know the layout. I just wanted to make it new for the players and the characters, so it's kind of adds to the experience of them exploring these caverns for the first time. And I really wanted to make it feel like they were going deeper into the mountain, down into the cavern. So that's why I made like 6 different maps, just so it kind of shows that they're traveling further and further down. So this is actually the first time where they actually get to see some type of civilization. Majority of the maps that I put were just sort of like these unexplored caverns. They're just filled with like monsters and such, but this, they kind of get to see something completely different. There's some sort of life here with this structure, or maybe not life, but like activity. It's like the first man-made structure right now out of everything else, which they've usually seen as like natural cavern formations. So kind of an indication that they're getting closer. I set up like a little trigger here for that center of that teleport looking thing, where if they were to step on it, then something appears. It's part of the like gnomish illusionary magic that characters would constantly find here, because they're getting close to this ancient kingdom of gnomes, and it's covered in this like shroud of illusionary magic that you can never find the city. So them seeing illusionary magic kind of indicates that they're getting closer. So I had like a little riddle that the magical mouth says. I can't remember what it says. Something about the eye, that the eyes lie to the hands, which is basically like you shouldn't be using your eyes at this point. You should be using your hands to uncover the hidden entrance that may be around here. I also put a like a stone golem there, an inactive one, one that they don't have to fight. And right here, one of these players got a very good roll on their spot check, which allowed them to see one of the many illusions that are in this cavern by the gnomes. There's like a big like stick of web, not a stick of web, a web in one of the walls there, and that web and wall is an illusionary magic that's just blocking a hidden room. So I had them do a spot check. One of them had a natural 20, so just giving them a detail on what they actually see. They kind of just see the phasing of the image of the wall and web. So that's indication like, oh, that's not real, like what's happening there. And because the engine, like when I was making the map, there's no way to like remove walls on the fly technically, so I just like kind of have to port them to the other side. There's actually nothing really here to help them uncover the or find the hidden kingdom by any means. This is just like a secret room. There's a whole bunch of secret rooms in this area, but this is just sort of like an area where they'll find a little bit of loot for exploration. And now the other players are kind of approaching, seeing where their teammates went. They're gone. All they see is this web and a wall. And getting to another part of the cavern. This is nearing the end of like the first part. There's another part after this one. I just kind of grouped them together, but there's like another tiny little puzzle here where in this room there's 3 like banners that are hanging down, one on each of those 3 kind of, you know, pillar or walls that are on either side and at the top. And those same 3 banners are in another room, and on the left banner, on the left side of the screen, I put like a little handprint, which is supposed to symbolize the left banner is the correct banner that you're supposed to use, but it's not on this. It's on the other room that's using the 3 banners, so it's kind of indicating to use the left banner in the other room, which is where this character is currently looking right now. It's the left banner on this other wall. It's pretty much in the same room. It's kind of just like a side room. So like behind that left banner is an illusionary wall where someone could really just walk through the wall into this another hidden room, but this hidden room is actually more of like an encampment, kind of a secret campground where somebody has been staying. They don't know, but it's more of just like a, you know, a checkpoint. But that was how we finished off that episode of the campaign. I think we've been going on for like 2 hours or 3 hours, so we stopped it there. We're still continuing the video though. I'm just mean like when we were playing it, that was the end of that part. So right now this is the last part that we're in. There's like another hidden room here that's supposed to show like this big pillar with a what do you call it? A mural. That's what I was thinking of. It's like a big you know, piece of art that's on this giant pillar. This, what's actually shown is not really what's I'm presenting. That's just like the only model that the game has, but it's supposed to depict these 9 gnomish gods, basically like the pantheon, and it's supposed to show them standing in front of these bright golden hills, which is like symbolic of the like the gnomish religion, those 9 gnomish figures that are depicted on that pillar. It's supposed to be like the 9 different gods available to the gnomish people. Each gnome kind of has like a specific portfolio that they represent. So one might be like the god of luck, another one might be the god of, you know, nature and forest, another one might be a god of illusion, another one might be a god of warfare or something. Like each kind of has their own specific portfolio that they control. But eventually they find out, you know, there's no entrance on that floor, so they continue down the cavern to this new section that we're in. I set up another encounter here with like a custom creatures that aren't a part of the server. They're like lurkers, which are supposed to be like these manta rays, but like on land. Not you know, they kind of fly still, but they look like manta rays, but they're like typically found in caverns and stuff. So I'm setting up this little encounter where the lurker babies, they like, the eggs are attached to the ceiling, and then when they hatch, the babies fall to the ground, and then they usually like eat little, you know, creatures like rats and stuff like that until they're big enough, then they can just fly on their own. So this is sort of like depicting the babies falling from the ceiling right as the group is approaching, and then showing the lurkers fight. Had a couple of players go down during some battles, including this one, because the level range, we had a couple of like early level 1, level 2s, and a couple of higher level ones, but you know, you kind of work around that. We reached another part in the cavern where this was kind of like one of my favorite parts to make. If you can see, there's just a whole bunch of like corpses strung up, a lot of blood pools and torture devices and everything like that. It's an encounter with an Inquisitor, which is like an undead creature whose sole purpose is to cause like pain and suffering to living creatures. So I put a whole bunch of like, you know, tortured victims that are now insane, that are kind of just like wandering. They're not really wandering. I don't know why they're supposed to, but kind of just standing still as these players approach. Inquisitors also have like an ability where they can look into the eyes of someone and be able to paralyze them. So I made a couple will save checks for a lot of these players, and or I think I made a couple lore checks first for the players to figure out what kind of creature this was, and then I made a couple of will save checks for those that can resist the paralysis, the paralysis gaze or not, and those that failed it were pretty much paralyzed for like, a small part of the battle, while the rest of them had to fight these overwhelming numbers of the Inquisitor and like, dozens and dozens of these crazed, like half dead, half tortured victims. So we got the big battle going. A lot of these like minion creatures aren't really that strong. I purposely made a lot of them lower levels, so they were kind of just, fodder for most of the players. The real like challenge was the actual Inquisitor, and you can see one of the players on the right is taking the brunt of most of it. Well, again, the level range was kind of different. There was like only one or two pretty high level characters, and the rest were fairly low level, which is fine. That's kind of how it is. Yeah, you would rather have more people than less people, regardless of the level range, if you're a DM. So, I was fine with it. But it was a pretty cool battle to see. A lot of these players got really busted up, but good fight. And we eventually moved to the end of this particular cavern, where characters had to go in even deeper in the caverns. We're like 5 maps deep into this Sunrise Mountains, where they had to use a well to get down to the lower floor. That Inquisitor battle was pretty much the last battle that they had to go through. This last map was like the exploration. This was pretty much the main event. It wasn't the hidden kingdom that they were looking for. It wasn't the gnomish kingdom that they were looking for this entire time. But they happened to stumble upon something with just as much history. It was like another old, I don't know if it's a king. I don't know if it's technically called a kingdom. I think it is, but it was like a human settlement way back in the day, like long, even longer than the hidden kingdom, the gnomish kingdom. It was inhabited by humans. I did take some creative liberties with this. Like, there's not really that much information on, these mountains and the settlements back in the day. So a lot of it, you kind of just going through like different, history stuff on the internet. Like, you kind of just look up Forgotten Realms, Sunrise Mountains. Like, ooh, what kind of happened during this era? So right now they're kind of like in a catacombs area. This is actual lore stuff. This particular area, there's a creature called Quick Strike, which is supposed to be like this really ancient creature that's kind of has this like gas fumes that comes out of it, that's supposed to like petrify you. It turns your skin into, or like it hardens your skin, kind of like a Medusa or something like that. And so they're seeing this creature for the first time. There is actual like lore with this creature. There's a whole bunch of like different books that span through all different countries in the Forgotten Realms universe. Like, there's so much stuff. Like, you think J.R.R. Tolkien has crazy history with like Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion and stuff? Like, the Forgotten Realms is pretty much the same thing. So like this is actual, like, this creature at least is actually has a place in history technically. So they're seeing this creature for the first time, and I basically had to cast a spell as DM to make it show that, that gas that's surrounding it. And you can see on the right side of the window, I wrote down, so their skin starts to harden. So I made like constitution checks, and if they passed those checks, then their skin wouldn't harden, and if they failed those checks, then it would feel like their body is being, turned to stone. And since this character has actual lore, like, this character is supposed to be alive like 10 years later, when this where the server takes place. It takes place in like 1363, like that's the year. And 10 years later, there's this creature shows up for another character in this universe that they end up meeting up. So technically this character or this creature can't be killed because it's supposed to be alive. So I made him immortal, and I just had him crawling towards them every so often, just making it roleplay that their skin is hardening every time. So the only real defense for this right now is to just run away. That's, this is supposed to be like an ancient creature that's so powerful, even though I think it just looks like a slug. It just looks like a really plump slug, like a fat one, but it's, really pretty big. I mean, compared to like a regular slug, and it has like a human's face on it. So I'm basically just trying to make these characters run away because they can't kill it. They're not supposed to. The history of that is supposed to be that quick strike creature. Like his history is supposed to be, his petrification gas is supposed to make sure that all of those sarcophagus, all of those coffins in there, all the bodies in there, they don't rise. So that creature was put there to make sure all of those bodies they stay there. Like he's basically petrifying all those dead bodies so they don't rise up, which is why he's stationed there. So like somebody put him there. I don't know who. There's like not much lore on it, but that's what I read. So we try to make things as close to like by the books, close to source material as possible, which is why that was there. Which is why I couldn't have the players kill him, because the source material, that creature is still alive like 10 years later. But we're nearing the end. This is the group eventually finds this dilapidated town that's just like in ruins, and this is supposed to be like the old human settlement, the old human kingdom, long time ago, that's just now all wrecked. And this is supposed to be like a big find. This was supposed to be like lost to history, but they just happened to uncover it looking for a whole different kingdom. Just a coincidence. But I put a whole bunch of like rubble and like broken stuff on the ground. That was pretty much the end of the event. They were free to explore around. I had a couple of like historical items. Like I put a book there that just kind of explained a little bit about the history of the place. Not much, because there's not much history in general in the source material. So just added a couple things, a couple of character names. But that was it. That was the Songfarla campaign. They ended up not finding Songfarla is the name of the hidden. I don't even know if I said that. Songfarla was the name of the gnomish hidden kingdom that they were supposed to find, but they never did. It's because it's such an illusionary. It's so protected by like illusion magic, some of the strongest illusion magic. So, when I was making this campaign, I already knew at the back of my head they're not gonna find the place. Like I'm not gonna create a whole city of gnomes because there's no real like source material for it. So I kind of just came up with this reveal of a different kingdom entirely. But that was it. Oh, there's another character here that shows up in like 10 years later for source material. There's like this ghost named Mir. But that's it. That's the campaign. That's technically 4 parts, but I only showed you like the last 2 parts because I didn't record the first 2. Hopefully you learned a little bit about something, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if you even came here to want to learn anything, or you're just curious about Dungeons and Dragons or DMing, but that was it. That's usually how I kind of DM stuff. Again, I'm not like a professional or anything. I just like doing it for fun. I just like telling stories. It's fun to tell stories, especially like imaginary ones. But that was it. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Any other suggestions for different Neverwinter Nights videos? I'm always playing Neverwinter Nights. I'm on this server. Or if you guys have any ideas for DM events, hey man, let me know. Let me steal your ideas. I'll give you a shout out in a video that I'll record for it. Give me some of your cool stories to tell, and maybe it'll be in another video. Hey, is that a new thing? I don't know. Let's find out. Thanks guys for watching. Later, you nerds.